And welcome to Rise and Fire Bets. My name is Chris Exusion. You can find me at Chris E. Bomb on Twitter, and it's Players Week. TPC Sawgrass, absolutely fantastic. The carnage, everything that goes along with it, weather, the water, the fast greens, you name it. It has not been easy. And the beautiful thing is, you might bet some guys, Rory, Rahm, very popular guys. JT not looking that great. A lot of guys just aren't looking that good. Keegan, very popular, unfortunately. He will not be making the cut. But guess what? We still have bets to make to help the bankroll out. Definitely a lot of good spots. Been looking at the numbers, seeing what is out there right now. And there's definitely some juicy numbers for top 20s, outrights, second round leader, all that good stuff. And I had to bring on my good friend, David Behrman from ESPN. He loves live betting as much as I do. He's always finding good spots. Dave, I appreciate you having being on the show. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. As soon as you said you had a show about live golf, sign me up. I love live golf. If you were to rank 1 to 10 all the things I love betting on, live golf would be number one. It's not even close. And we all do our fair share of pre-flop bets on Wednesday that all of them are gonna hit. There's not one bet you make on Wednesday that's not gonna hit. But I mean, this is a perfect example, and we can get into it as we go. But like, this tournament is always carnage, and I mean, what percentage of our bets are already down the toilet? Like half of them at least. And you're like,
oh yeah.
I spent all morning trying to find more bets to make because I knew that, my Rory bet was already dead. It was dead by the third hole on Thursday. And yeah, last week Rory started bad and had a bad Thursday and almost won the damn thing, but this was a different event. And just watching him on Thursday, and anybody, and we'll get into this during the whole show,
right?
You got to watch it. It's very hard to live bet if you're not watching. You got to see how the players are going. I saw that, I just knew Rory couldn't hit a fairway, couldn't hit a putt, not going to be around for the weekend.
And you know what the sad part of all that is? I actually, this week, one of my matchup plays, I had 2 matchup plays. If you shopped around Rahm versus Rory, you got Rahm at plus money or Rory at plus money this week. I had Rahm plus 105 against Rory. It looked absolutely amazing. He had the stomach bug. I think he probably just had some diarrhea. Like, who knows what happened? And he just can't be out there with the public. And that was a killer because that was already cashed in that ticket.
It was done.
Like, the carnage that is already been done. And another one I'm having right now is Sam Burns over Matsuyama. A little overreaction from Sam Burns having one of his worst approach weeks last week, and he's been known to bounce back after having very horrific approach games. So, and then Valspar coming up, so he's got to get ready for his Open.
Yeah, I mean, in this tournament, these guys are a little bit like they're getting ready for the majors that are coming up, but they call it the 5th major, and it's a different course than they've seen. It's not your typical Florida course, but it has the Florida weather. Every year you never know what you're going to get with this course, and it's the single hardest event to handicap before it starts. And just looking at the leaderboard, I mean, come on. Anybody have these guys? No. And yeah, I'm proud of the fact that I grabbed Morikawa this morning because I figured, based on the weather scenario, I figured the early guys are going to go out there and score. Friend of the program, Anita Mark, sent out a tweet this morning that said the weather was perfect. They're going to go low, and the afternoon guys are going to have a problem. Like, well, I got to get Morikawa before his odds get better. So I went ahead and grabbed him, and birdie's the first hole. And I look like a genius, but he gave 2 back, and he's still sitting there. And we'll talk more about it. Like, I like how he's playing. I like his stats, and he's going to have the advantage of being able to play 7 holes tomorrow morning in perfect weather. So he's a guy to definitely watch.
Absolutely. I mean, he was already dart thrown right off the bat, and it was just one of those rounds where, like you said, the perfect conditions were there. Everything was just set up for him to be perfect right there. But now we got the actually, I want to show, since we're talking about that anyway, with what he's done of late. Let me bring it up 1 second. All right, here we go. Morikawa has been unbelievable this little stretch he's been at the moment. For the event in general, he's one of the leaders in strokes gained approach. The putter, as we know, is always an issue, but around where that even mark is a really good spot for him because he's had spike moments for the most part. He's had about a 1 spike for Morikawa, if you will, because he's very flux with the putter, but his approach game's been fantastic, and this course rewards approach game more than most courses. So the ball striking.
And this is a perfect example of live betting because not many people would have picked Morikawa before the event, even though the course does fit his game. a lot of people put recent form in there because this course is so diabolical. How's the guy playing? Well, Morikawa was not playing well, missing the cut last week. So I didn't have Morikawa. But then you see what he did in round one, just shooting darts out there. And you're like, you know what? He's got his game this week. And if Morikawa has his game, Morikawa is as good as anybody. And you mentioned the stats. He's second in tee to green. He's first on approach. You mentioned approach is as important as anything on this course. Fifth overall. And yeah, the putting is where the putting is. But if you had told Colin Morikawa he's going to be 71st in the field in putting, he would sign up for it. He absolutely would. And I believe more putts will fall, which is why I got him at, I used the draft. I don't know if you have it down there, but DraftKings had the 17%. The
17%. Yep.
I used it on him to boost him to 421. He's currently 450 right now, which in the morning will get another 17%. I'm almost thinking about doubling down because I'm still not at the 25 that I could have gotten on Wednesday that I wanted. But if I can get him at 4.5 on two different bets, it might get to the point where you have a good bet there.
Yeah, absolutely. You can build on that. You're getting the data. You're seeing it with your own two eyes. I mean, you watch enough golf. I watch enough golf. You know, you got to trust your gut with the experience of watching these guys. But as far as, are you involved in one and dones at all?
I am involved in one and dones, and I have Justin Thomas this week. So that cut line in the morning is something I'm going to be paying attention to.
The sweat will be real.
The sweat's going to be real. I'm in a pool where if you combined Rahm and Rory, that's 37% of the pool this week have Rahm and Rory. So just making the cut for Justin Thomas at the highest purse of the year will give me a six-figure payout advantage over 37% of the field. So that cut line is as important for my one and done as any this year because I'll get six figures at the minimum. And JT 2 years ago went ahead and won this thing, or 3 years ago, went ahead and won this thing with a ridiculous Saturday and Sunday. So you never know. I don't think he'll win it this week, but you know, if he makes the cut, we'll see what happens. I mean, JT's last 2 wins have been ridiculous comebacks.
So typically when you do like one and done, do you always bet your one and done as an outright pre-flop? Or do you just kind of like, hey, I'm kind of hedging myself if these guys win and I think this guy can do well, but I don't want to put a bet on him. Like, how do you feel about that?
I bet my one and done if the odds are good. Like if you're getting
Rahm or, good, yeah,
if you're getting Rahm or Scheffler and they're 5.5 and 6.5 to 1, then no, it's pointless. But if you're betting a Justin Thomas at 22 or 24 to 1, I absolutely will put you're picking one guy.
Yes.
One guy to win the event, you should bet on him. Now, if it's later in the year and you're betting someone because you have nobody else to use and you're like, oh crap, I got to go bet Jason Day because I got nobody else. Maybe not, but more times than not, I will bet my one and done unless I'm in a pool, which I have other pools where I split with people and it's not my week to pick and they pick someone I don't like, then I won't play it.
Yeah, so like I'm kind of mixed with it for the most part. Last week I had Scheffler and Rory for API, and I did end up betting them because I was just like, you know what, I really like these guys. I know the odds aren't amazing, but I decided to play in pre-flop. This week though, I had a couple futures. I had Finau 45 to 1. I think I had like a long time ago. I Pendrith plus 220. Plus 220. So those are guys that I knew I wasn't going to really play per se. And I ended up playing Corey Connors like 71 this week. That was my only weekly bet I made outright. But besides that, I was like, well, I got to take some other big boys, you know, like because this is a big event. One, I took Rahm, which has been a dumpster fire because he left. So that was a killer. But luckily, I'm not doing good in that one and done. But the other ones, the other two I have in the Mayo one, where I had Scheffler for Waste Management, I have Victor Hovland, and then the other one I have is Morikawa. So they're there, you know, for the most part. Hovland is you'll lose a year off your life watching him play, but it's better to be on the other side.
For reasons I cannot explain, even though I do this for a living, I cannot get into the Mayo one. Connecticut does not allow that website that he hosts.
Oh, yeah, that's strange.
It's something to do with fantasy and
state regulations.
It's a state regulation thing, but I could have done it if I had someone as a proxy.
Sure.
7,000 other things that I bet on. So like I'm not in the Mayo one, but I am in enough that I have it. You mentioned Hovland. There's just certain guys you can't figure out.
Correct.
Hovland's a guy that every time I bet on him, he misses the cut. We'll just throw it as it is. He's a guy that I never have any luck with.
Yeah,
but
that
outside of that, I can't figure him out. The guy has all the talent in the world. He sometimes can go out there and look like he's freaking Tiger Woods, and then he'll go 5 over the last 4 holes like he did today. He just, I can't. I understand why people bet him. I'm in DFS pools where people have him every single week. I just can't figure him out. He just doesn't he doesn't close for one. And he always has that. It's not a bad round. I call that the Rory. He has the bad 9. Like Hovland he went out today. Look at him today. We're going to pull him up.
Yeah.
He went out in 32. He went 32 and out in 39. Like, who does that? I do. You do. But like,
yeah, sure.
Like 4 under on one half, and then he looked like he never played golf on the other half. Granted, it's a tough course.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Same golfer. And by the way, he played worse on the easier 9. Like the front 9 is easier than the back 9 because you have the last couple of holes are impossible. He played 16, 17, and 18 at 1 under. But yet he played 4 and 5 and 3 over. So
yeah, it's just tough. I'm almost at the point where I feel like he needs to get like a veteran caddy of some sorts to kind of like talk him out of shots, because I feel like he feels like he's Superman at times and he feels like he can make any shot, which I do like at the end of the day. But I think he needs someone to be like, hey, let's pump the brakes on this 3-wood and let's try and, get like a 5-iron that we can just pepper right down, near the green.
He eerily represents what Tony Finau was representing a year ago, where he's good, he can win, you got to see it to believe it. My theory on Finau, I'm going to bet him top 10. This was last year. I'm going to bet him top 10 and top 20 in every event until he wins one, and he keeps getting top 10s and keeps getting top 20s, and eventually he went to the Midwest and got the 3M and Rocket Mortgage and won those 2 events, and all of a sudden Tony Finau can win. But it took a while. And I think Victor's there. I think Victor is close, but I'm not willing to put my Chili's money on him until he gets it done. I'll bet him top 10 and top 20 all day.
Sure.
But he needs to win something. I don't care. Go to Puerto Rico and win something. Go to the 3M, win something. And then I'll bet you to win, because that's all it's going to take. And this is also, by the way, a guy who could show up in 3 weeks and win the Masters. It's just,
oh, yeah. I mean, easy could happen with his talent. It's just, can he put it all together for the whole week? But since you're bringing up a guy that hasn't really won it all, I want to get your opinion on this guy. I feel like this is a guy that really doesn't play a whole lot of tournaments, and that's Cam Young. It just kind of like, it's kind of weird because like, I feel like he feels like he's like the upper echelon, but not winning anything. He really poo-poos smaller events. Like he didn't play Pebble Beach. He didn't like play some other things. What are your thoughts on Cam Young?
He's a guy that needs to play more. You hit it right on the head. He's a guy that you're like, oh, I forgot he was playing this week. Crap, he was in the top 5. Why didn't I bet him? He's the guy you always forget about because you don't see him enough, but he can do it. And he's good. I don't think he's ever going to be top echelon. I know he thinks he is, but he doesn't play enough, and he doesn't compete enough in the big events. But he does need to go out there and win something. And he has the talent to do it. He came on the scene and he's good and he's young. But he's not playing he's playing like a 15-year veteran and not like a 3-year guy.
Yeah, I mean, he is talented, right? I mean, the putter's been really wonky with him for the most part, but I don't know. I just would like to see him play some other tournaments to try and get that first win and then kind of build that up for the most part. And I don't know why he doesn't do it. I don't know if it's like a thing where he just wants to be home more and he's just like, well, I qualify for these events. It's just boggles my mind.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think, now that they're changing the rules next year, he's going to have to play more. Because if he doesn't play enough, he's not going to consistently be in that top 50.
No, absolutely. But hey, we got bets here. I know the rounds are all crazy. I always love doing those 3rd round matchups and everything, but I think there's a lot of value on the board. I actually want to start with the end of round leader. This is what we're looking at for end of round leader. And I think you're onto something here. And if you're looking for true value, Colin Morikawa plus 750 to be 2nd round leader. I believe he finished 11 holes already. Still probably has the most amount of holes left. Him and Svensson are like the 2 that are right there as far as how many holes are left. And he's only down 2 strokes right now, Svensson and Bezuidenhout. So he's a guy at plus 750. Like, I will definitely take a stab at that.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's gonna get the clear weather in the morning, and Bizen Hut and Svensson also have holes to play. Svensson has is also going to 12, but he's playing the front because he played the back first. Morikawa is doing it more traditionally, going to play the back. Scotty Scheffler's another shot back, and he has 8 holes to play, but he is a shot behind Morikawa. If you combine holes left with holes behind, I think Morikawa's. I mean, you're getting a better price on Colin over Scotty, and Colin is a shot up. But Scotty's got an extra hole. I still do like Morikawa. And, if you look at his stats, he's still throwing darts. He just couldn't make a putt today. Yeah. That's all it was. He should have birdied 2, the par 5. He should have birdied 6. And then he gave, he 3-putted one of the holes. I believe it was 8. He was fine. He could have he had a bad tee shot on 11 on the par 5, and if you have a bad tee shot on any of these par 5s, you're not getting birdie. You're just trying to survive. I've seen more 6s on par 5s this week than I've ever remember seeing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy with that rough and everything. And especially how like the greens are sloping certain ways, where the pin placements are. They're just rolling. There was a one putt that went like with Cantlay where he went from one side to the water, and I was like absolutely crazy. But you know what the weird thing is though, with Scotty Scheffler last week at API, I was on watch for it because I had Rory and Scheffler was a guy that was like, his odds were just terrible. Like he was down 3 strokes and he was only like 4-1 or something. And like, it was crazy. Like the books just have so much respect for Scheffler.
They do. And here's a guy who is in it every single week. But even when he was a couple of shots back, and I think it's interesting with Scheffler and Rahm, they do well at almost every single course, but you won't ever get really good odds on them because the books love them. I think the thing to remember with Rahm is all of Rahm's wins, none of them have been on the East Coast, which is just astounding. He's number 1 golfer in the world.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Doesn't win East Coast. And he goes out and shoots bananas on Thursday at the Arnold Palmer, which in reality was just a 5-hole stretch where he went bananas. And then he played awful the next 3 rounds and then played decent yesterday before withdrawing today. But we're going to go another year with no Jon Rahm winning in Florida, which the guy wins everywhere, but he can't win in Florida.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just that rough and everything else that goes with it. Beard Knowledge has a question. Someone 5 shots further back that can make a run. Let's see 5 shots back. Let's see where we're at right now. We're at the -3, -4 area. We have Chad Ramey who kind of fell off for the most part. But if we're looking in that 3 range, is there anybody that you see that you think could really make a push here? Or do you think we need to go near the -4s and above?
I think Justin Suh, like he was all over the map today. He had a good first round, but here's a guy who put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 birdies, 6 birdies on his card and still shot over par.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the 2s. This is not a course for Woodland. Maybe Sam Burns. Sam Burns did well day 1. Didn't do? Maybe it's tough. Let's see how Sam Burns is shooting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to look at what Justin Suh's doing right now. Let me see. If you're really feeling froggy, 80-1, that's a nice little lottery taking. Put like a couple bucks on that if you just want to see if you have like a miracle sweat there.
Sam Burns is in the top 30 in almost every metric except approach, but we talked about approach being good. I know we were talking early yesterday. Wyndham Clark was doing well, and he double bogeyed 17 today in the water. Looking at his stats, let's see.
There's actually one guy that I'm looking at that I've had my attention on. He's at -4 right now, and that's Adam Hadwin. He's a guy that does play pretty well in 3rd, 4th round play for the players. He's at -4. He's had both very positive strokes gain totals, tee to green. He's done a little bit of everything. Had a hot putter, was hot on approach, and like those kind of rounds in the last couple years. And a guy at -4 that has been playing well. Let me see what his stats were as far as.
I do like Hadwin. He was one of the guys I was looking at as I was illegally driving to meet your show today.
Nice.
I do like. I did think Hadwin was doing pretty well. Looking at Wyndham Clark's stats, the only place he's not good is an approach. So if he can get the approaches down, he might be someone, but I think he's a little too far back.
But Adam Hadwin, I really like what he's been doing. He's been pretty positive all the way around. You can see right here, strokes gained tee to green, about 2.5 strokes. Fantastic. Almost 3 on the field total. Really, the only thing he's been losing on is around the green, but it's been pretty much even for the most part. If you're going to look at his odds right now, if you want to take him outright at this point, which I might take a little flyer on, he's 20-1. I think that's still a pretty good number for a lot of chaos that could happen if he can make a really good run into, Saturday, Sunday. He could be a guy that I would take like a longer flyer on. I still think Morikawa is probably going to win this. I think most likely. Just my personal opinion. I just think his approach game's been way too good, and I think eventually the putter will pick up at some point.
I agree. I do love your plus 750 for him to have the lead. He's only 2 shots back, and even if you give the leaders another one, I can see Morikawa shooting 3 under over the last couple of holes. Now is a good time to get him if you think he's going to win. Hatton's back there, but too far back. I do like Hadwin. Hadwin was definitely someone whose stats look good. What the heck happened to Cantlay, man? He fell back, didn't he? Wow.
Yeah, well, he just had a really wonky round. I mean, he's one of those guys you're like, oh, he picks up a birdie every so often. Like, it's like nothing's really sexy with this game. Like he once in a while he'll go pin seeking a little bit, but it's pretty much he just works his way around the greens and just does like everything kind of correct, I guess, and it just doesn't really stand out. It kind of just like it's kind of hidden, if you will.
It's amazing how many big names are sitting there in the even par range. You got Max Homa, Jordan Spieth, Cam Young, Fleetwood, Mitchell, Adam Scott, Hideki, all even par. Now, even par is 8 shots back, probably too far back. Every one of those guys I just mentioned is still on the golf course except for Spieth and Young. Everybody else is on the golf course. They all have time to get to 1 or 2 under tomorrow. So if you're looking, I think even's too far back, but you're not talking about a standard 2 rounds. Like, Hideki's got 2.5 rounds. I'm not saying Hideki's going to win, but usually when we have these conversations on Friday nights, you're looking at guys with 2 rounds to go. Can they make up 8 shots? Keith Mitchell, Tommy Fleetwood, Cam Young, got 2.5 rounds to go. Still not sure any of them win. I think I would identify some of those guys for top 20s.
Right. So speaking of the top 20 market, a guy that I really like for the most part, he's a guy that's had really big issues. I just recently found out he's been pretty sick for the most part. There's been reports of him not feeling well. He just hasn't been right. He says now he's starting to feel good. And at a course that is shorter, which he's really a longer hitter, but he's played well in short courses in his history. I really like Cam Davis this week at top 20. He's currently inside that top 20 right now. You're getting him at 2-1. He's a guy that's been really bad. I had him last week to miss the cut on my card. Just a guy that's just been absolutely horrible. No one's had an answer. We found out he has been sick, but now he's playing well. Since he's been playing so bad before, you're getting him at a much higher price. So at 2-1, I think he can hold on this week. The putter's been decent and everything else has been good with him. I really like Cam Davis, T20 for 2-1 on your money.
Yeah, I mean, he's right there at 2 under par right now, or 3 under par. So he's within that. You just need him to hold it. I think that can be pretty good. There's a couple of guys that I already have top 20s on pre-flop in Adam Scott and Keith Mitchell, both at even par. I would still hope I'm not going to double down on them, but
yeah, sure, I might double down.
They are both sitting there with the capabilities of getting in there. Always keep an eye on Willie Z to do something crazy over the weekend and not win.
Absolutely.
And not win. Willie Z and Xander are both sitting there at 1 over par. Theegala, who I played today versus Cam Young, they were even going to 17, or I guess in their case it would have been 8. Their 17th hole, and then Theegala bogeyed, Cam Young birdied, and I don't even know what happened on the last hole. It didn't matter. But Theegala couldn't make a putt on Thursday and was in the top 10 in all the other shots gained. He's someone that didn't play well today, but I'd keep an eye on to maybe backdoor top 20 as well.
Yeah, Zalatoris was my next guy that I was looking at, plus 240. He always has that one good round to keep himself going. But yeah, great minds thinking alike. I absolutely love it. But hey, that's going to do it for us today. I want to thank David Behrman of ESPN for coming on. I appreciate always talking shop with you, especially with live golf betting. We both love it, and I think we found some good spots. And thanks again for being on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. And anytime, I love talking live golf. It's what we love to do. And, there's some spots out there. So thanks for having me on.
No problem, man. Let's go make that money.